Hello and welcome to episode 29 of Tom's Hirschsprung podcast. Now today I am joined by somebody very special, somebody who I think I've been after for about 4 months, 5 months or so. We've been chatting quite a lot sort of back and forth over those months and she's been very gracious with her time. I've managed to get somebody on who is incredibly special, incredibly important to the Hirschsprung community. So huge welcome to Stef Little. Welcome, Stef.
Hi, how are you?
Oh, fantastic. All the better for having you on.
You're so kind.
As I mentioned at the start, when somebody who is very, very important in the Hirschsprung community, and we'll talk all about your extraordinary story through Hirschsprung, through your incredible sporting career as well, is something that also struck a chord with me.
Yep.
But I'd like to start, if I may, just really from the very beginning with you. And obviously you were born a little bit premature.
Yep.
And you were diagnosed straight away, which wasn't something I had. I was sort of about 2 or 3 weeks old when I was diagnosed, but you were diagnosed pretty much, am I right in saying about, was it a couple of days, give or take? Or was it on the day?
Yeah. A couple of days. Yeah.
Couple of days. So you diagnosed with a couple of days, which was really, really quick. So they sort of found it really, really early. And then had colostomy fitted about a week old, is that right?
Yeah.
So how did your mum find that? Did you display sort of all the classic symptoms of having Hirschsprung's, and it was just diagnosed, or how did that go?
So mum fed me within hours of giving birth to me, and I vomited up green bile straight away. And the nurse that was in the room supporting my mum through the breastfeeding was called out and was like, something's wrong, we need help, blah blah blah. And then this nurse that was actually supposed to be on a holiday in Africa somewhere came in, and she's like, I know what's going on, I'm going to call a doctor at Princess Margaret Hospital that was down the road from where I was at the time. And she said it was Hirschsprung disease, and she had seen it only in boys at the time. The doctor rushed over and he was tapping his feet and he goes, yep, get her over to Princess Margaret Hospital. We need to do surgery straight away. And that's when they found it. And I was my doctor's first female to be diagnosed with it.
That's always interesting, because doing the research and speaking to a lot of people, I haven't calculated it exactly, but I think I have probably about 50-50 men and women split from people who have Hirschsprung's, but Hirschsprung's is three quarters more likely to appear in boys than it is in girls, which isn't so it isn't so much of a shock that they hadn't seen a girl with Hirschsprung's before. So then from that part, so you had the colostomy about a week old. Did you have the pull through at that point as well?
Around 6 months later.
And that was when you had the colostomy reversal as well?
Yes. Yep.
One thing I do want to pick up on, because your story, I've read it from your Facebook page, Kicking Hirschsprung Disease in the Arse. That's something, I love the name, absolutely love it. And if anybody... obviously, please follow that, because it's fantastic. Your story's on there. There's some great positive posts on there that we'll get onto later. But one thing that really struck me from the early part of your story was when you were named the $1 Million Baby. How did you get that name?
Because the medical staff all knew me at the time, because I didn't really leave the hospital. One nurse was bored at one stage, I think, and she started calculating how many surgeries I've had and how many procedures and all that, and she reckoned it was hitting around the $1 million mark of how many procedures and stuff I've had. It was, I think, all the procedures and all that, it came to like 10 in the first year. So yeah, $1 million baby. I think there was even an article somewhere in like the local hospital newspaper. They even put that, like a photo of me and that in there. So yeah, $1 million baby. Pretty cool. I wish it was in like actual cash though.
Oh yeah, they just gave me the cash. I mean, but yeah, just stuff the surgeries. just give me. I think we'll all take that.
Absolutely.
Fantastic. So you've obviously had many surgeries, sort of. So this is all kind of going on before a year old. This is within the sort of first 6 months. Those 10 surgeries or so.
No, the first year was the 10-ish surgeries. Yeah.
First year. I know we were talking about, and we'll obviously get onto this later on, but we were talking just off air, that currently you stand on 146, and we were checking to see if that was a world record, which unfortunately it isn't.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's still a way to go to 900 and something. But yes, 146 is quite staggering. Do you ever sort of look back and think, wow, that's a lot? Or is it just take it in your stride and go?
As I was younger, I used to just be like, why me? Like typical teenage kind of attitude. Why me? Why can't I just be like everyone else? That sort of thing. Because there was girls around me, even though I had a very fit body as a teenager. But I had scars all over my stomach and no one else did, or they could wear high heels and I can't. And that's something we can talk about a bit later about my feet, because of the surgeries. But that was the attitude I have. But now I'm like, well, it's never going to really stop. So let's just try and make a goal. And it's just silly. And my goal is 300. Not that I want to have another 150 odd surgeries to go, but why not just make fun of it? It's a typical Australian thing to do anyway. It's just a lighthearted joke that I'm having with myself or with my family, just see how many I can get to. But yeah, some people might not like that joke, but
I think it's great.
Why not have a goal? You can't stop having surgeries. Why not have a goal?
I think it's great. And this is one of the many reasons why I wanted to interview, because you're so positive about things. And this podcast is all about positivity and not glossing over the hard times, because as we all know with Hirschsprungs, it's not nice, and there's lots of things that go along with Hirschsprungs that are not very, very easy to deal with at all. But I love your positivity, and I love the fact that you've made the Facebook page, and you had obviously the great sporting career and everything in between. So that we will get onto a little bit later on. But that's why I know we talked about off air that you're somebody that's really, really important to interview for the podcast. I'd like to, because you mentioned just briefly back then about the high heels, because you were also diagnosed with bilateral drop foot. Was that in both feet, or is that, because I think you said it was more severe in the right than the left? Is that right?
Yep. So it is in both feet. Left, you can't really tell. Only like professionals kind of tell. It's more like a delayed in my left. But my right one is completely deformed. It's around 3.5 centimeters, so about an inch and a bit, shorter than my left foot, and I can't walk. So it doesn't go like heel. When I walk, my left foot goes heel toe, and my right foot goes toe heel. I don't know how it does it, but it does it.
Oh, okay, that's interesting. I've never. And is that common with somebody with drop foot, or is that another sort of?
No idea. I don't really look into it. So, another word for it is called clubfoot. So there are babies born with clubfoot and stuff that can be fixed, but mine's medically induced, so it was a little bit harder. And there's like a tendon in my big toe that shrunk. So and with tendons, you can't really mess around with them too much. So because of the shrunk tendon, it makes my foot on a weird angle and all that sort of thing. So it's not something that can ever be fixed, but it's just using like personal training to strengthen the ankle around it, so then I don't injure myself as much. And yeah.
Fantastic. But I want to talk about as well when you were sort of diagnosed with bilateral drop foot, and many other things that happened in and around the age of 5. So you went into what was supposed to be a 12-hour surgery. It turned into 72.
Yep.
And then woke up with all manner of things. So nerve damage, I'm just reading off my list here. Nerve damage, paralysis, hypersensitivity, bilateral drop foot, and sciatic nerve damage. Was that all just from one surgery?
Yep. I was septic at the time. So I had perianal abscesses that were infected and fistulas that were also very infected. So they became septic because the fistulas were causing the holes in my bowel and my bladder, and all the blood and everything was just like mixing. And then when they did the surgery, they put a epidural cannula in my spine, and the sepsis went down into the cannula site and into my spine. And that's how I woke up with it. Well, that's what they think. Another thing that they think is that I'm allergic to whatever medication that they put in the epidural at the time. So there's a whole bunch of things that they've been trying to investigate ever since. But yeah, when I woke up, you couldn't touch me. I had to lay on pig fat, and had to do physio and hydrotherapy and all that to learn how to walk again, because I became paralyzed head down. And I had to do like so much. It was, I don't know how my mum did it, to be honest.
So did that make you, I know we'll talk about your sort of high level sporting career and see your daughter's high level sporting career as well.
Yeah.
Did that make you more determined to go, right, I've got all these physical issues and whatnot, but I'm going to become more determined. I'm going to achieve what I want to achieve sporting wise?
No. No. My personal trainer changed my train of thought with that. I started personal training with her, and I was like, I can't do this, I can't do that, and she was like, no, yeah, we can. But yeah, she's pretty incredible. She was my client first because I did dog walking as a job, and she was my client. I walked her dog. Then I reached out. I was like, hey, Leash, I need personal training. Let's do a swap. And then I told her, I was like, I can't lift over 16 kilos. I can't do lunges. I can't do squats. I can't do this. Can't do that. And she's like, let's prove you wrong. Let's do it all. And I was like, what? And I was like, no, we're never going to do that. She's like, yeah, trust me, we'll get there. And now we're doing it all and more. She's the one that changed my train of thought.
That's brilliant. And how long have you been with?
4.5 years now.
Wow.
Yeah, been training with her for 4.5 years. She's just Wonder Woman. She always tells me it's me. I'm like, nah, man, I couldn't have done it without you.
That's brilliant. That's absolutely fantastic. And we'll obviously go with you're obviously very, very heavy into fitness and And I know you talked a little bit, I know you shared some videos about lifting and then various exercises you've done, which look incredibly impressive. But if we go back a little bit, have you always been interested in sports?
Yeah. So my dad is huge into soccer or football, as you would call it. We have football in Australia. It's different. We use our hands.
Call it Aussie.
Yeah, that one. So my dad's Italian, and he aspired my brother into wanting to be, a famous soccer player. And so we played soccer, backyard soccer and all that. A very competitive family. Like even fishing was a competitive sport for us. And then I got into netball. I actually got picked to play for Western Australia, but I had to turn it down because I was having surgery and because of how long I had to be out of surgery and stuff. Not play netball because of surgery. It was like 6-7 months not being able to play netball. It took a long time to get back, and because they reconstructed my ankle, I had to be really careful on how I played. And I never had sensation in my foot before I played netball, so I was just really rough and just didn't really care because I didn't get hurt, basically. Then after the surgery, I just kept hurting my ankle. My ankle would roll and just be in so much pain, and I had to give up the sport. So that dream went down the drain pretty quickly. I begged my mum, because I was 12 at the time. I begged my mum, let's put it off. But she fought so hard. I think she fought like 5-6 years or something for me to have this surgery. But I had to stop growing before they could do the surgery. And because she fought so hard for it, she wanted me to have it. And I wanted it. I did want it. But when this opportunity, like I got pulled aside, I was just umpiring netball and I got pulled aside with the manager of the club and some scouts. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be in trouble. Like all these people are just standing around in suits and just want to talk to me. And then, they're like, we want you on the Western Australian team for under 13s or whatever it was. And I was just like, yes. And they're like, yeah, we need you to play and we can fly around WA and like Australia and all this sort of stuff. And I went home, like my dad picked me up and I went home and told my mum and I was like, Mum, we need to put the surgery off. And she's like, no, we can't. But yeah, never mind. Netball was pretty full on the body anyway. So I couldn't imagine like these people that play still in their 20s and 30s. I look at them and I'm like, I can't be doing that to your knees, man. Your knees and your joints.
But you did go back to ball around sort of 2018 though, didn't you? Went back to playing again?
I did. That's when I learned. Netball's very... it might not be a contact sport, but it is on your body.
Yeah, I bet there's a lot of twisting, there's a lot of turning, there's a lot of impact on joints.
Yeah, because you just got to like run and jump and just not move, and the jumping and just this like the instant stopping and making sure you're not moving with the ball in your hand and stuff. I don't know how people do it. I miss playing netball. Don't get me wrong, it's so fun, but I just couldn't do it for long because it was too much.
No. But fantastic to achieve, so much in a short space of time. It's fantastic to know that, you were very, very talented with netball. It must take sort of quite a bit of comfort from that, I would imagine, to get where a very small amount of percentage of people will ever have, scouts come up to them in what did you think was the issue? What did you think you were in trouble for, by the way?
I don't know.
Had you done
at school? I wasn't a very nice person, so whenever I had like a group of people come up to me, I was like, I'm in trouble. I don't know. Maybe I was umpiring wrong or something. I got no idea.
Oh, people would come and tell you off.
I don't know.
Fantastic. No, I just love the way you automatically thought, oh no, I'm in trouble, rather than actually, oh, something good might happen from this.
I didn't know like scouting was a thing. I just played netball. I didn't like think of playing for Western Australia and, you know, possibly playing for Australia one day. I was just playing, and I would play for all age groups because they're like, oh, we need you. We need a player. We need a player. And they used to bend the rules because when you're a fill-in for a team, you can only play wings. And I hated wings. I hated center. And they're like, all right, for this one, you can play in the goals. So I used to they used to bend the rules just so I could play.
Always for the best. Who's going to know? Nobody. Nobody's going to ask. So did you play?
The team would get upset because, you know, I wasn't in their wings. I was in goals instead.
So that goal shooter? I'm going off my very limited netball knowledge.
I played both. So I played shooter, attack, and defense.
Because there's only certain people who can score, is that right?
Yeah, you got to be pretty talented.
But only the positions of goal shooter can score? Or is that?
Goal shooter and goal attack.
Goal shooter. It's not like basketball where anybody can score.
No, only two people can shoot. Yeah.
Got it. I'm going off my life as a PE teacher. Sort of, we did netball for like 6 weeks, and I had to learn the rules for 6 weeks and then teach it. And yeah, so my knowledge is very limited, but good enough to teach at primary school level. You can kind of get away with it.
Yeah.
You can, make it up as you go along. So
yeah, primary school you definitely can.
yeah, to a certain degree, and as long as you haven't got like, as long as I didn't have somebody, you know, I was teaching like you who knew the rules, I was all right.
Yeah. We get very passionate about the rules.
Yes,
netball.
Eventually, it can cause a lot of arguments.
A little bit.
Awesome. So if we, again, I know we're sort of bouncing around all over the place here, but if we sort of take it back maybe 2 or 3 years, and I just wanted to read out the list by age 10. I know this is up on your Facebook page, but by age 10, 7 colostomy bags, 9 pull-throughs, 68 what you call major surgeries, which I thought was like 68 surgeries in total, but 68 just major. I think, to be honest, I'd call all surgery major surgery, but 130 in total, and then bilateral drop foot in both feet due to sciatic nerve damage, all by age 10. Was that sort of, did you sort of realise what was happening, what was going on at that young age, or was it like, right, I'll just go in surgery? Because 130, well, that's 13 a year, isn't it? So that must have been, well, 1 a month, give or take. So was it just simply, right, next one, or did you sort of think about it a bit more at that age?
I don't think I did. Mum might have something, but from my memory, I think I was just always in hospital. I spent, from the age of birth to 10, I spent so much time in hospital, I didn't know anything else. I really struggled with school, so they discharged me, and within a week I'd be back into hospital. Doctors were starting to think that I was institutionalized because I'd recovered better in hospital than at home as well. And just like with girls, you grow so much from birth to 10, then after that it kind of slows down. Because of all that, my body just wasn't coping, and I was born with segmental Hirschsprung disease. So there's short short, long, total, and then there's segmental. Segmental's kind of a bit more rare than the rest of them. And having it in a girl's even more rare back then. So they didn't know what to expect. And my body just didn't know how to fight off infections either. So they didn't know how to keep infections away. So I spent a lot of time on antibiotics, which caused more issues. So, yeah.
And just
major, I think, was the ones that it was mum that mainly mentioned the major to like the minor. I think from her point of view, it was the ones that were the not so severe ones were probably like a couple of hour surgeries in and out and recovered okay. The major ones were the ones that I was in for like hours. I was supposed to be in for like a couple of hours and they turned into hours, or a lot of the time in those surgeries there, I would what's called crash on the table. So flatlined basically. So they'd have to bring me back. And then a lot of time in ICU and all that sort of stuff. So I think that's what mum's classifying as the major ones where there was complications. And the not so severe ones where there wasn't any complications, where I was just in and out.
Wow. I mean, I think I call all surgery major surgery, but it's funny. It's funny that you sort of classify them as such, or your mum classifies them as ones that, you know, if you flatline, it's major. If you don't, it's fine, or it's minor.
Yeah. I think that's just what mum kind of saw, because she saw everything. That my daughter goes through like something small and I'll call her in hysterics. I'm like, how did you do this? I'm not even going through as bad as you did and I don't know how strong you were, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, well, you got to do what you got to do for your children. You got to be strong and you just got to make sure that they're going to get out okay. And I'm like, okay. And she's like, pull yourself together, Samantha needs you. I'm like, okay. And she kind of like gives me a reality check and I just, got to get on with it. Because that's what mothers do. Mothers have to be there for their child, like, and fathers obviously, but my mum was the one that she fought for my life. She was pretty awesome. I've got no idea how she did it, because that would have been hard.
I know. I definitely know where you're coming from with that, because my mum was the same. She was there throughout the whole surgeries. But my dad's been great, obviously, as well. But whilst he was at work, mum's in hospital with me, with my sort of 10 surgeries or so. I know it's not 146, but it's 10. But yeah, no,
it's still 10 surgeries that your body has had to endure, though. Yeah,
but yeah, definitely on a serious point, I can't thank my mum enough for what she did for me and how she's been there. So yeah. No, the bottom line with that, mums are incredible.
And superheroes.
Absolutely. And to that point, you're obviously a mother yourself to Samantha.
Yeah.
Who was born with Hirschsprungs as well. So becoming second generation Hirschsprungs. Would you like to go through the story of Samantha?
Yeah, I can talk about Sam. Thankfully, she's not as bad as what I went through. I was 17 when I had her, so when I found out she also had Hirschsprungs, I was beating myself up about it quite a bit. The blame, all that, because no one else in my family has Hirschsprungs. I've got Hirschsprungs and now she's got it, so that blame game starts playing in your head. The mum guilt, all that sort of stuff. But again, I was 17, so very hard for a 17-year-old to comprehend, one, being a mum, and two, your child's all of a sudden sick. Because she was born and she was fine. She was passing mech, she was the meculum, she was passing all sorts of things. And she was doing really well. And then come like day 4, I think, she stopped passing anything. And then it was like day 6 from memory. I can't really remember. It's nearly 14 years ago. Mum and I just got up, we were cleaning the house, and we started looking at the time. We're like, nearly lunchtime. And Mum was like, have you fed her today? I was like, no, she's been asleep all day. And she goes, but we were so busy in just cleaning, and I was taking advantage of the fact that I could get this house done with Mum, and we did a massive cook up and everything. And we both looked at her, and she was so jaundiced. Her stomach was massive, and Mum's like, all right, let's try and give her a bath to try and reduce it. She wouldn't even wake up for a bath. And Mum's like, right, let's pack a bag. You're going to be there for a while. We're going to the hospital. And I was like, no. She's like, no, Steph, she's got Hirschsprung disease. We got to go. So I'm running around trying to pack a bag for me and Samantha, and she's calling my dad, and she's in hysterics, and I'm in hysterics, and I'm just like, no, not again, not again. She can't have a colostomy bag. We can talk about that too, but my mental health around colostomy bags isn't great. A lot of people are probably going to take offense to that, because when people hear that, they just do. But we'll get to that in a second. But yes, we got to the hospital. They kind of like rushed us in too, because they just saw her, and they're just like, go straight in. Doctors came around. The doctor that came around opened the curtain. She goes, I know what this baby has. I remember you, and I remember you, Mum. And she looks at me, she goes, and my mum and the doctor looked at each other, and she goes, and Mum kind of like had a sigh of relief, because she knew a doctor that had been dealing with me. And Mum turned around and turns to me, she goes, Dr. Liz 1 was your doctor. And I just went, fix her. Just, you know what to do now, just do it. And I begged her. I was like, do not do everything. Do everything to not give her a colostomy bag. But I obviously had to sign that paperwork to say she can have a colostomy bag if need be. Samantha was born with, sorry, I forgot to mention that, ultra short Hirschsprung disease. But because I was born with segmental, they, instead of cutting out just 10 centimeters, they cut out 30.
Wow.
Yep. Just to be absolutely sure that they've got everything. And then they biopsied the whole 30 centimeters to make sure. But yeah, because they cut out quite a healthy bowel within that 30 centimeters, they were able to just do a straight pull through. And it was just dialysis, I think, for 6 weeks or 6 months. One of the two.
Wow. So if we go back to sort of segmental Hirschsprungs, what would be the difference between, for people who are listening, what's the difference between sort of segmental and then sort of short segment?
Short segment's like a small section of the bowel. They from 1 centimeter to 10. Segmental is, as I explain it, as a zebra stripes. So infected, not affected, infected, not affected. Thinking the white as not affected, black is affected type thing. That's the best way I can describe it. So it was just all throughout my bowel. So yeah.
Wow. Yeah, no, I think that's a fantastic explanation. I've always struggled, certainly, because I'm short segment, and whenever anybody asked me to pre-podcast about Hirschsprungs, I'd always try and get it down to like 2 or 3 sentences, but it would be quite difficult without sort of going on and on and on and on and on.
Yeah.
And so did you find that as well growing up, that you kind of think, right, I'll if anybody said about Hirschsprungs, or Hirschsprungs was ever, or if you ever had to explain Hirschsprungs, did it take a long time, or did you manage to get it down to a couple of sentences?
As a kid, I kind of said, I don't know, I just wasn't born with the nerves in the bowel. I kind of like shrugged it off. And they're like, what? How do you go toilet? I'm like, I don't know. I didn't quite understand it until I actually started the Hirschsprung page. I was actually going through a really low time in my life when I started that page. A lot of gynecology issues, and that's happening again now. And a lot of the time where they wanted to do a hysterectomy, and because of all the surgeries, it's too hard to. So they're throwing the colostomy bag around, saying I need that and it'll be permanent and blah blah blah. And I was, like I mentioned before, my mental health around colostomy bags isn't great. And I was like, surely I'm not the only person in this world that's got to have gynecology issues that needs a hysterectomy because of like endometriosis and stuff that needs to have a bag. Surely we're at 2017 then, and I was like, things have come so far. Why are we still doing these ancient surgeries and stuff? That's the way I had it. So I had to really throw myself into the Hirschsprung page and really share my story and find people, and really changed my train of thought with that. And that's how I started to learn more about it. And because more people would contact me about it, and I'm learning more about, total colonic and long and all that sort of stuff. And I'm just like, whoa, what does all this mean? So I started researching then, and that's when I started to learn more and more. And I was like, wow, we really need more awareness about this.
Very true. Very true. And obviously I've come across your page and know you from your Hirschsprung's page, and it's got best part of 4,000, give or take, so 3.8, I think, give or take, followers, which is one of the largest in the world.
Do I?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Do I know more about it?
I don't really focus on the followers and stuff. I kind of just jump on there and put up whatever's going on in my life at the time, and then I usually have like my my regulars, or my the ones that have been following me from the very start, and I kind of have conversations in the comments section through there with them. Or they go, oh, I'm sick of trying to find the notification. They start messaging me, and we have a good old conversation through Messenger. And I love it. There's a few on there, and it's awesome. Found people in Perth, and I got something in the mix happening at Perth Children's Hospital soon, and I've got a meeting with that, and hopefully that takes off. And so fingers crossed. Yeah, so the Perth Children's Hospital have a lot of support groups regarding like other conditions, but there's nothing for bowel. And I really want to organise a support group for bowel conditions, and I can be that point of contact if people want to, talk to me as a mum or as someone that's gone through it and now is a mum. At least they've got that support person regarding that. The hospital are so keen. There's a few, protocols and everything that we're going to sit down and have a discussion about, but it might take a little while, but I think it's going to take off, and I reckon there's a lot of people that want to. And we also got a thing called telethon. Yeah, so it's like institution, research and money funding, all that sort of stuff. And there's no bowel. There's no research centre for bowels that telethon support. So I don't know how it's going to be done, because I don't have a bachelor's degree in science, and I've got none of that. I'm just a person that with an ambition, and I really want telethon to support a business, like an organisation over here, which we don't have for bowels. But we'll find it. We'll find it. One thing at a time. We'll start off with a support group and see where that goes, and maybe that turns into the organisation with telethon. Who knows? We'll see.
No, you're absolutely, yeah, absolutely, and you're right when because I don't have a science degree or anything. So you're absolutely right when you say ambition can take you an awful long way. I just podcast with nearly 30 episodes in, and I'm not a doctor or a nurse or anything. So I do sport for a living. So I don't do I don't do any kind of medicine. I mean, I have a sports science degree, but it's not quite the same thing.
No.
But ambition can take you an awful long way, and I do. If there's anything I can do to support that, help that, get the word out, do whatever, I'll absolutely help you with that. So if you ever need me,
thank you.
Please get in contact. And I'd like to talk about the page as well. You set it up in 2017.
Yeah.
It is one of the largest, if not the largest. I've done a little bit of research on it in the world. And I had Melissa on, who runs the UK Facebook page, 15. So sort of 15 weeks ago, give or take. And that's nearly 2,000. So it's sort of double the size of that. And there's some really great content on there. Some lovely people. And you've obviously very helpfully for my research written your story on there. So I'm very grateful for that, because that saved me an awful lot of time. But you've documented sort of yearly on there, and everything you've achieved in sort of a year blocks. And I'd like to, if I may, just go through that. So obviously created 2017, and then 2018, I think was something that I didn't know before coming across your page. I just knew Hirschsprung's Awareness Month as September, but I didn't realize you're the person behind that.
Yeah.
It's you. It's all
that
you.
was me.
Yeah,
Yep,
I didn't realize that. Obviously, people have talked about Hirschsprung's Awareness being in September, but I didn't realize that was you. Do you want to talk a little bit about how that all came about?
So when I started the page in 2017, I had people, and that page grew really quickly. That's when I started looking at followers, because that was like super exciting to have like all these notifications of people following me. I was like, oh my goodness, this is growing. And I was like documenting, like when I got to 500, I was like, wow, what the fact that it's at nearly 4,000, that's crazy. I had no idea. It goes to show how much I pay attention to that. I just literally like to share my stories and have a chat to people. But people started messaging me and going, what's the Hirschsprung's Awareness Month or Awareness Day or whatever? So I started doing research, and we didn't have one. I was like, So I put up a post on there, and I was like, hey guys, we don't have an Awareness Month. We don't have an Awareness Day. Let's do a vote. Should we do a month, day, week? What should it be? And then everyone voted months, and I was like, why not? Let's go big. And then I was like, all right, everyone's voted month. What month should it be? And then we did a vote on what month it should be. And people voted September. That was the most votes. I can't remember. I think September was like huge. Like it just blew it out of the water with all the votes. And
interesting.
And yeah, it was very weird how that came about. But in saying that, I think I chose like maybe 6, and it was like September, October, March, August, which is my family's birthdays. And then like, I think I only chose like 6 because otherwise it was going to be too much. And then I started from 2017, I think it was about July, August time, that I started trying to get the Awareness Month and started doing research, and people wanted, there's a place in America that wanted $5,500 American dollars. In Australian, that's like nearly $10,000. I wouldn't know what it is in UK money, but it's like, I was thinking $10,000. Where am I going to get that from? And it was yearly. I had to pay that yearly. Yeah, I was like, Apparently just registered in America. Oh, that's not what it was.
That's all you get for 10.
Yeah, it was like registered in America, radio announcements. But I'm like, how do I even monitor that? How do I monitor the fact that it's been, announced and all that? Anyway, I was like, nah, that's too much. And just for America, I was like, no, sorry, America. This is about the world, not just you. And then I contacted Reach and I was like, hey, how do you guys reckon we can get this done? And they're like, we've got no idea. Good luck. And I was like, oh, great. I think they were trying at one point as well to get an awareness month, and I don't know. I think they probably just ran in the same sort of situations I did and was like, okay, this is a bit too hard. I'm not sure. I'm just speculating. Nothing against them. I think they just lost faith, kind of thing. Then I contacted the Western Australian Government Health Department, and I was like, I really want to register this month as Hirschsprung's Awareness Month, and I want it to be worldwide recognition. And they said to me that they will have a look into it, see if it does have an awareness month, and obviously it didn't. And then about a year later, I emailed them again because it was about, I think, 6 months of no communication. And I was like, hey, what's going on? And then they sent me the screenshot and I was like, Ryan, I screamed. My neighbours came over. They thought something like hysterically was going wrong. I was on my phone and I was like, effing happened, Mom. And she's like, what happened? I was like, Hirschsprung's Awareness Month freaking happened. I was like beside myself. And then I shared it all over Facebook, and yeah, that's how it happened.
Wow. You are the person.
I am the person behind that. Not to have a big head, but yeah, that was me.
No, go for it. Absolutely. I'm all about self-promotion.
It's my greatest, well, besides my children, but yeah, definitely one of my greatest achievements. It was pretty cool.
I think that's fantastic. And just as well to talk about that, it's not just a case of, right, you've got the month, you've got the accreditation for it and stopped there. You've done an awful lot in that time, and just sort of, you've done a couple of walks, sort of pre-COVID, one 2018, one 2019. And you've also been very much into public speaking as well. Is that something you've done before, or is this the first time you've gone into public speaking?
It was the first time. I got approached by the medical staff at Perth Children's Hospital because it was my daughter's continence nurse that approached me. She's like, Stef, your stories are like amazing. She pulled all my documents because she's like, I don't know if this is all true. So she pulled it all, and like, I'm still a case study at this hospital, and I wasn't even born at that hospital. Like, I didn't even go to this Perth Children's Hospital. I went to Princess Margaret Hospital. Anyway, she pulled my case study out, and she just couldn't believe what she was reading and the fact that I became an ambassador. She had me looking after my daughter for 2 years. And then I was like, hey, look, this is what I'm doing now. I was like, if there's anything you want to, have an input in or anything I can do, just let me know. And she's like, hey, we have a Continence Foundation conference thing happening. Would you be willing to talk about your story? And I was like, sure. And she goes, you're going to be talking in front of medical staff. And I was like, okay. And I kind of like freaked out, but I was like super excited and, felt, what's the word? Like privileged to do that. I was like, this is cool. So I did that, and then because so many medical staff had so many questions for me. They're like, how did you do this? And I didn't know that they did that. And oh my goodness, that happened. And a doctor spoke before me, and he said in 1997, they brought out a sphincterectomy surgery that wasn't even FDA approved at the time. And they had never had done the surgery wrong. And I put my hand up and I was like, actually, I'm living proof in this room right now that you have in 97. And that's where it all started with because that surgery there was only supposed to be very small. And then I got infection from that. And that's where the perianal abscess started to form. And after that, that was it. Because instead of cutting a little bit, they overcut it. Yep. So he was like saying, oh, we've never overcut it and it's a very safe surgery and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, you're wrong. And he pulled me aside. He's like, I don't appreciate you doing that. I'm like, well, have the correct things. He goes, I'm going to have to pull your case study again. And he actually called me. He goes, I'm so sorry, but I said that because you are living proof. I was like, I'm sorry to, make you look like an idiot in front of everyone, but you can't be saying something that's so false.
Yeah, it's got to be true, because otherwise, if you said, oh, everything's perfect, everything's fine, and it isn't, you got to speak up, and kudos for you for speaking up, and because it might have been easy to just go, yeah, fine, but it isn't, and
no, it is a very simple surgery. They just overcut it, I think, because it was so new. I was the first person in Perth to ever have that surgery. Because, why not use me as a guinea pig?
Hirschsprungs. I think we're used to being used as guinea pigs in one form or another.
Absolutely, especially 90s babies.
Yeah.
And earlier, I think we were pretty much like, let's just see how we go. And look, if that's the case, where if we were all guinea pigs and stuff back then just to make things better now, then I reckon so be it, because the kids nowadays do not have to go through as much. I know a little boy that's got lung segment and he only had to have one surgery. One colostomy bag, and now he's living an awesome life and he's a little golfer now too. So, there's those stories, and I'm like, that's how far Hirschsprung's surgeries have really come. Then I'm glad I was a guinea pig for that, if that makes sense.
True. No, I feel exactly the same way. I know I've talked a little bit about it before, but there were some pioneering surgeries or procedures I had that known at the time, because I had tachycardia, where the heart's just beating and beating over and over again, sort of 100 times a minute.
Yeah.
And there was a pioneering surgery actually by a junior doctor at the time that said if you give a shot of magnesium to a patient, it slows the heart rate down. And this wasn't known. I mean, this was 1992, so this wasn't known.
Yeah.
And thanks to him, I was saved, and I'm still here today. So I totally agree that if we could go through things, or if we did go through things, so it makes other people's lives easier, then I'm all for that. Absolutely all for that. And if we circle back to your page, obviously you've done quite a bit on there. So your story was recognised in 2019 on radio and magazines, newspapers and TV. How was that?
Wow, you really did your research.
I do. Nothing else.
You are thorough. That's awesome. I kind of wanted the Hirschsprung Awareness Month out there. I wanted to make sure, because it was new, I wanted to get it out there. I was like, this is done. This is official. Let's just make it happen that it's official. So I was messaging and emailing. I spent hours upon hours emailing radio stations, newspapers, you name it. I emailed them all. The bigger ones, the bigger radio stations and newspapers around Australia and Perth didn't really want to borrow it because they wanted money. So that sucked. But the local papers and radio stations where they were kind of like smaller, they were like, yeah, let's get you in. Let's do it. Couch, he's on Foxtel. He was like, yeah, come in. I'd love to hear about you. I think from memory, he's got Rhone. So he's like, yeah, let's talk about it. I've got a bowel disease. We need more people like you. Get onto it. Let's do it. You come in. Let's talk about it. It was pretty awesome because he promoted the walk. So we had a couple of people from just randomly coming up, not knowing what Hirschsprung is, and came and did the walk with us. And I was like, whoa, like, this is incredible. People coming up, like, congratulating me, and I had no idea who they were. They just told me that they see me on the couch, and I was like, whoa, that made a big difference. And Fred is awesome. He's so cool. He's so easy to talk to. His team's awesome. I think a couple of years later, he messaged me and he's like, hey, you want to come on the show again? I was like, sure, let's go on. Let's do it. And I invited a friend because I already spoke about my story. I was like, what would you like me to talk about? He goes, oh, do you know anyone that's got Hirschsprungs and want to come on? And I was like, sure. So I messaged my friend and I was like, hey, you want to talk about your boy's story? And she's like, yeah, because it took her ages and lots of fighting to get her son diagnosed because they just kept brushing her off. She's another young mum. And because she has got no history of Hirschsprung disease in her family that she knows of, or her son's father's side as well. So she was just kind of brushed off as just a paranoid young mum that was just being too paranoid about her son. And, you know, told her that she's not feeding her son right and it's all diet related and blah, blah, blah. So, you know, stuff like that really irritates me when I hear stuff like that. So I was a massive advocate for her family at one point as well, because her daughter has a bowel disease. She has been ruled out for Hirschsprung's, but she still has a bowel disease, and she was in ED at one point and was almost about to be sent home, but luckily she called me. She's like, hey, Stef, I'm going to ED. Can you meet me there? And I was like, yeah, sure. So I dropped everything and I went there. And they were actually going to send her home. And I was like, no, we're not going home. I was like, it's not happening. We are staying until you can diagnose her properly. And luckily enough, I fought for that because she was passing massive stools and they were rock hard. And this poor little kid was like 2, just screaming every time she passed. And I was like, no, this is not happening. No. And from there, they actually started to get answers because I put my foot down. And I was like, no, you're doing the tests on her. We don't want the test done, but we need the test done because she needs help. She can't be living like this.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so that's really, really important to advocate. It's because if you know, obviously having experience with Hirschsprung's, you know quite a lot about it. So if you feel something, I think a lot is, and no pun intended on this, but a lot about gut feels, I think, is really, really important. And I know, I sort of personally as well, my mum had to fight for my diagnosis, and because she knew something was wrong. She absolutely knew something was wrong, and the doctor didn't want to come out because it was a bank holiday Monday. And in the end, he did, and then apologized to her and said, yeah, I'm really, really sorry. And because of your gut feel, it was really, really important. So definitely I'd advocate for that. And as we sort of circle towards the end of our interview, I'd love to get your thoughts on now. So for you, for your daughter, for Sam, obviously you're doing more public speaking now. You've just reached 7 years on the Facebook page as we're talking now. June, am I right? June-ish time, so about a month ago from when we're talking, just reached 7 years. So congratulations. And obviously Sam is taking up competitive swimming and doing very, very well from what I've documented, what you've documented on Instagram and Facebook. So how is her national swimming going?
She hasn't done nationals yet.
Sorry.
Yeah, state. She was trying to get to nationals this year, but unfortunately she ended up with bursitis in her shoulder. So we're kind of going through diagnosis for that. Treatment for that because it's been diagnosed. But she hasn't really been swimming this year because she's in a lot of pain. But she still somehow managed to do the swimming carnival through school and then do inter-school swim carnival and took out champion girl for that. She still made state championships this year for butterfly. Her favourite stroke is bud. Yeah, her favourite stroke is butterfly. I'm like, wow, you really like to take the difficult road in life. She loves it.
That's hard.
Yeah, self-taught at the beginning too.
Wow.
She was taught how to kind of do it, and then she was only taught for maybe 2-3 weeks, and then my parents took her up north. That's where they were living at the time, and I was like, Mum, she really needs to get her butterfly down pat. So she spent, I think, an hour every day because it was up north of Western Australia, so it's always summer. An hour every day for 3-4 weeks in the pool, just training herself how to do butterfly. She came back, she did the assessment and passed. And I was like, whoa. And then she's just loved butterfly ever since. And she's incredible at it. So I don't know how she flings herself out of the water, honestly. No idea. And you'd all think that she got bursitis with butterfly. It wasn't even butterfly, it was breaststroke.
Oh, right.
Yeah, exactly.
The easier one that gives you that's always the way, isn't it? The difficult thing is fine, and the easier one, you end up hurting yourself on it.
Yeah, exactly. And she wasn't doing it through races, she was just training. And in training, you don't really push speed or anything. You just use more endurance and technique and everything. And they were doing a breaststroke set, and she hyperextended her shoulders, and boom, she felt the pop, and that was it. But no, she is doing incredible. Her goals are still Commonwealth Games in 2 years. Olympic Games in 4 years. Nationals hopefully next year and the year after. So we'll see how that all goes. Hopefully she does it.
No, that would be fantastic, and I'm sure you'll document progress and on your Facebook and Instagram as well.
Yeah,
and then
absolutely.
For the Facebook page in particular, what do you see the vision for that being in the next sort of few years? So you just celebrated 7 years, so where would you like to be? You celebrate 10 years, for example.
3 years time. Hopefully the support group at the hospital has gotten off the ground, and people are being supported. Hopefully other hospitals are doing the same thing. I'm not sure. I can't speak for other hospitals, so I don't know what support groups they've got. My main focus for support groups is for Western Australia because it's my hometown. I have a lot to do with the Ostomy Association, but they more focus on people that need ostomies and all that sort of stuff. But it's not for just people that don't need that sort of stuff either. So just support and how to get into, if they need support through the school liaison officer at this hospital, because a lot of people didn't know about that. I didn't even know about that. I had no idea that was a thing. Getting in contact with a continence nurse. So many people that have gone, hey, you need to go to your GP and get a referral for continence nurse, because the continence nurse can help you with your either, whether it is incontinence where you've got loose fecals or, you know, constipation. The continence nurse has a way of fixing that. And sometimes when you've got fecal incontinence, you sometimes also have urinary incontinence, so that also helps, because sometimes your bladder, you're so backed up that your bladder over urinates, or that also stops as well. So the continence nurses are great to help with that, and Samantha's continence nurse has been awesome, and she's been an amazing support person for Samantha and helping me with my Hirschsprung's journey as well. So hopefully more and more people around Australia and the world have got an inspiration of me, I guess, to take these steps and take these leaps, as scary as they are, and contact the hospitals and be more involved in your own hospital, I would say. Getting yourself out there. If you've got the passion to do it, I reckon just go for it. Just contact them and trying to find out who the medical staff are, and work with them a little bit. It is your free time though, but it can also, your free time might lead into a career without even having a bachelor's or diploma or whatever the case may be in medicals, because I don't believe you need a certificate to know what's going on. You can help. 100% you can help. So hopefully I've got that inspiration for people in the next 3 years. I hope that telethon start making something bowel related, because it needs to be. It can't just be swept under the rug. I think there's urinary. I'm pretty sure off the top of my, I think there's bladder, but there's no bowel, which is so important, because when the bowel's not working, the gut's not working, and everything else stops working, and it's just really uncomfortable. So fingers crossed we get something there. I just don't know where to go from there, on how to get to telethon. But that's my goal. 10 years, hopefully. I did have a goal of Ellen, but she's no longer around.
No. I'm sure there'll be somebody else taking her daytime slot.
Nellie Clarkson show, maybe? He really interviews celebrities there, I think.
Yeah, you made up you've got Hirschsprung's Awareness Month. You're more of a celebrity than I am.
Hey.
But just for me, actually, one more thing before we wrap up. Where can people find you, find your story, and best way to contact, I guess?
So they can contact me on either Instagram, which is Stefy, it's STEFFY_little, or on Kicking Hirschsprung Disease in the arse on Facebook. Arse is ASS, because I don't like the other spelling. Yeah, contact me away. I don't bite. You can contact me. I will not give medical advice though. Please don't ask for it. I will talk about experience, but never medical advice. I'm not medically professional or anything like that. I'll just speak from experience and what you may or may not work for you. But my advice may not work for you. So please don't take that to heart. I beg you.
No, it's the first thing I did on here. I wrote a disclaimer, basically saying, don't take this as medical advice. Take it as personal stories. Take great inspiration from it, but I'm not a doctor. Please don't take medical advice.
Yeah, exactly. I've had to do that a lot. Also with the kicking Hirschsprung disease in the ass, if you would like a Hirschsprung's ribbon with your name on it, contact me on there. There are just digital photos and they're free. So they're not like physical physical things. It's just a picture. Those, but I can do whatever name, as long as you send me the correct name and the correct spelling, I will do it correctly.
Make sure you spell your own name correctly, I think.
Yeah, trust me, I've had a lot of people send me their thing and I've done the spelling and they've gone, that's wrong. And I'm like, I've copied and pasted your name. What do you mean?
I don't know how to spell your name. You should know how to spell your name.
Yeah, exactly.
Fantastic. I just want to say a huge, huge thank you. I know we've been in contact for sort of several months trying to sort of set this up, and I know we're on different time zones and whatnot.
Yeah.
But I just want to say a massive, massive thank you for coming on the podcast, for everything you do, because you are a huge voice in the Hirschsprung's community. And on behalf of me and a lot of people I've talked to, I just want to say an enormous thank you for everything you do and for everything you're continuing to do. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Tom. I appreciate you inviting me. This has been fun. It's so easy to talk to. It's awesome.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Tom.